Get them out before the cameras turn this way. The charity director's whisper cut through the ballroom louder than the orchestra. Marcus Reed stood beneath a crystal chandelier in a borrowed black suit, one hand resting on his 8-year-old daughter's shoulder as security closed in. Around them, donors stared. Some smirked. Others lifted phones. "You don't belong at this table," the director said, holding Marcus's invitation like it was counterfeit. Marcus swallowed the anger burning behind his ribs. He had promised his daughter, Nia, that tonight would honor her late mother, not become another lesson in humiliation. Then Nia slipped from his side. She crossed the marble floor, reached Billionaire CEO Elena Vale, and placed a folded note into her hand. "My daddy said not to bother you," she whispered. "But my mom wanted you to know the truth." Elena opened the note, read one line, and suddenly stopped breathing. 3 weeks earlier, Marcus was tightening a loose faucet beneath the kitchen sink when Nia ran into the apartment waving a cream envelope. "It has gold letters," she said. "That means important." Marcus slid out, wiped his hands, and read the return address, Vale Children's Foundation. His stomach tightened. Inside was an invitation to the foundation's annual charity gala, along with a handwritten line, "We would be honored to welcome the family of Rachel Reed." Nia traced her mother's name with one finger. "Did Mom know them?" "Not really," Marcus said. That was the answer he always gave when the truth felt too heavy. Rachel had spent her final year organizing meal deliveries for families staying near St. Matthew's Children's Hospital. She had worked from their couch between treatments, calling restaurants, churches, and anyone willing to help. After she died, Marcus quietly continued the program under her name. He never told Nia that he had sold his small construction company to cover Rachel's medical debt and keep the meal program alive. He now repaired apartments during the day and drove deliveries at night. The gala invitation should have felt like recognition. Instead, it felt like entering a world built to remind him of everything he had lost. "We should go," Nia said. Marcus looked at the faded photograph on the refrigerator. Rachel stood between them, laughing in a yellow dress. "She would want us there," Nia added. So Marcus found a used suit at a thrift store. Nia wore Rachel's blue pendant and a simple white dress. On the night of the gala, they took the bus downtown because Marcus's truck would not start. At the Vale Grand Hotel, polished cars rolled beneath glowing arches. Guests stepped onto the carpet in gowns and tuxedos. Marcus felt Nia's hand tighten around his. "Remember," he said, kneeling beside her, "we are not less because we have less." She nodded, though her eyes stayed on the cameras. Inside, a young volunteer checked their invitation and smiled. "Rachel Reed's family. Ms. Vale asked us to watch for you." Before Marcus could ask why, a sharp voice came from behind them. "Is there a problem?" Grant Holloway, the foundation's event director, studied Marcus's worn shoes, then Nia's plain dress. The volunteer explained, but Grant took the invitation from her hand. His smile disappeared. "This name should never have been placed on tonight's list," he said. Near the silent auction tables, a woman in a simple black gown turned toward them. Marcus recognized her at once. 2 nights earlier, she had been standing alone outside the hospital, crying in the rain. And from across the ballroom, she heard every word. 2 nights before the gala, Marcus had delivered 30 hot meals to the hospital family kitchen. On his way out, he noticed a woman beneath the emergency awning. Rain blew across her bare shoulders, but she did not move. He offered his umbrella. "I'm fine," she said. "You're shaking." She looked at him then. Her eyes were red, yet her voice carried the practiced calm of someone used to giving orders. "A little girl upstairs asked me if money can make her mother stop crying," she said. I didn't know what to tell her. Marcus handed her the umbrella anyway. "Tell her money can pay for medicine. But people make the fear smaller." The woman studied him. "You sound certain." "My wife spent a year in this building." "I'm sorry." "So am I." They shared coffee from a vending machine while rain struck the windows. She introduced herself only as Elena. Marcus told her about Nia, Rachel, and the meal deliveries, but not about the company he had sold or the bills stacked inside his kitchen drawer. Elena smiled when he described Nia correcting his grocery lists with purple crayons. "You love being her father. It's the one job where failing isn't allowed. No parent believes they're doing enough." Marcus noticed there was no wedding ring on her hand. "You have children?" Elena looked toward the elevators. "I had a daughter. Sophie. She died 12 years ago after heart surgery." Marcus did not offer the usual words. He simply sat beside her. After a moment, Elena whispered, "A stranger stayed with me the night Sophie died. She brought soup and held my hand until sunrise. I never learned her full name." Before Marcus could answer, his phone rang. Nia had awakened from a nightmare. He stood quickly. "I have to go." Elena returned his umbrella. "Will I see you again?" Marcus gave a tired smile. Hospitals have a way of bringing people back. Now, across the gala ballroom, they stared at each other. Elena started toward him, but Grant stepped between them. "Ms. Vale," he said, lowering his voice, "the press is waiting." Marcus finally understood who she was. Elena Vale. Founder of Vale Systems. Billionaire. The woman whose face appeared on business magazines and hospital walls. Her expression changed when she saw Rachel's name on the invitation. "Grant," she said, "why are my guests being questioned?" Grant's jaw tightened. "Because Rachel Reed never donated $1 to this foundation." Marcus pulled Nia closer. Then Elena said, "No. She gave me something worth far more." And Grant's face lost its color. For one breath, the room seemed to soften. Then Grant laughed. "With respect, Elena, grief can make people attach meaning to coincidences." He turned to Marcus. "You arrived wearing a dead woman's name and expecting access to donors. Did you also expect a check?" Nia flinched. Marcus felt every camera turn toward them. "I expected nothing," he said. "We were invited." Grant held up the card. An invitation generated from an unverified mailing list. The young volunteer stepped forward. "That isn't true," Ms. Vale personally added. Grant cut her off. "Return to registration." Elena reached for the invitation, but Arthur Bell, chairman of the foundation board, appeared beside her. "The live auction begins in 2 minutes," Arthur murmured. "Whatever this is, handle it privately." Marcus saw the trap clearly. Elena was surrounded by donors, cameras, and men protecting an evening worth millions. If she defended him without proof, Grant would turn the entire gala into a scandal. Marcus bent toward Nia. "We're leaving." "But Mom's name doesn't need their permission to matter." They had taken only 3 steps when Grant spoke louder. "Security, please escort them out before the cameras turn this way." The orchestra faltered. Conversations died. A guard approached with an apologetic face. Elena moved forward. Nobody touches them. Grant lowered his voice, but not enough. This man has been delivering food through an unlicensed program and using your foundation's kitchen. Legal warned us months ago. If a family gets sick, you will be responsible. Marcus froze. The kitchen had passed every hospital inspection. He kept receipts, temperature logs, and volunteer records. Yet last week, Grant had sent an order closing it after the gala. That was why Marcus had placed a folder in his truck containing proof that Grant's office had redirected food donations to expensive events. But the truck had died, and the folder remained locked inside it. Grant leaned close. You should have stayed invisible. Marcus finally understood. This was not about his suit. Grant knew exactly who he was. Nia slipped her hand into her pocket. Earlier that evening, she had written a note while Marcus dressed. She had refused to show him, saying it was for the lady who remembered Mom. Now she pulled away and ran across the marble floor. Nia. Marcus called. She reached Elena before security could stop her and pressed the folded page into her hand. My daddy said not to bother you, she whispered. But my mom wanted you to know the truth. Elena opened it. After the first line, her hands began to tremble. The note was written in purple crayon. Dear Ms. Vale. My mom wrote about you in her blue book. She said Sophie's mother was alone and needed someone to stay. Mom said that night taught her nobody should eat or cry alone in a hospital. My daddy found her book after she died. He sold his building company so her kitchen would not close. He says not to tell people because kindness is not something you use to look important. But Mr. Grant keeps saying the kitchen belongs to him. Please do not let him erase my mom. Nia Reed. Elena pressed one hand to her mouth. What blue book? She asked. Marcus stared at his daughter. Nia, where did you find it? In Mom's memory box. Nia removed the pendant from her neck. Inside the silver locket was a tiny photograph of Rachel, younger and smiling beside a hospital window. Elena's knees nearly gave way. That's her, she whispered. That's the woman who stayed with me when Sophie died. A murmur swept across the ballroom. Grant stepped forward. A child's note is not evidence. No, Elena said. But this is. She raised her phone and called the hospital director on speaker. Within seconds, Dr. Priya Shah confirmed that Marcus had funded the family kitchen for 3 years. He had provided more than 20,000 meals. Every inspection had passed. Then the registration volunteer returned carrying a tablet. I saved the emails, she said. Mr. Holloway ordered us to remove Mr. Reed's name from the program history. He also changed tonight's presentation to say he created the kitchen. Grant's face hardened. You accessed confidential records. You sent them to the whole planning team. Arthur Bell stepped away from him. Elena looked toward the giant screen above the stage, where Grant's prepared tribute waited under the words his vision, our mission. Put up the financial transfers, she told the technician. Grant lunged for the control table, but security blocked him. Bank records filled the screen. Funds marked for family meals had paid for luxury suites, private cars, and consulting fees to a company owned by Grant's brother. The ballroom erupted. Grant turned on Marcus. You planned this. Marcus shook his head. I came because my daughter wanted to hear her mother's name spoken with respect. Elena faced the guards. Escort Mr. Holloway out. Preserve every device in his office. As Grant was led away, he looked smaller than the man who had ordered Marcus removed. Elena stepped onto the stage, still holding Nia's note. But instead of speaking to the donors, she held out her hand to Marcus. Please, she said. Help me tell them who Rachel really was. Marcus did not take Elena's hand at first. He looked at the guests who had watched his daughter be humiliated. Then he looked at Nia, standing straight beneath the chandeliers with Rachel's pendant against her heart. He stepped onto the stage. My wife did not start the kitchen to become a name on a wall, he said. She started it because grief is worse when people feel forgotten. No one lifted a phone now. Marcus told them about Rachel packing soup between treatments. He described Nia drawing suns on meal bags and volunteers driving through snow. He did not mention selling his company until Nia tugged his sleeve. Tell the whole truth, Daddy. A quiet laugh moved through the room. So he did. By the time he finished, the auction had changed. Donors stopped bidding on vacations and began pledging directly to the hospital kitchen. The total passed $2 million before midnight. Elena announced an independent investigation, grants removal, and a new rule giving hospital families seats on the foundation board. Then she turned to Marcus. I want you to lead the expanded program. I don't want a favor. It isn't one. You built what we only claimed to support. Marcus glanced at Nia. Then the families choose the menu, every dollar stays public, and no child gets turned away. Elena smiled. Those are my terms too. Over the next year, Rachel's table opened in 6 hospitals. Marcus oversaw each kitchen while rebuilding his construction business on weekends. Elena visited often, sometimes for meetings, sometimes with no excuse at all. She learned to braid Nia's hair badly. Marcus learned Elena drank coffee only after forgetting it twice. Their love arrived quietly, between grocery lists, board reports, and evenings when neither needed to explain loss. One spring afternoon, they stood in the hospital garden as Nia hung painted wooden suns on a small memorial tree. Mom would like her, Nia whispered to Marcus. Elena pretended not to hear, but her eyes filled. Marcus reached for her hand. I spent a long time thinking moving forward meant leaving Rachel behind. Elena squeezed his fingers. Maybe love doesn't replace anyone. Maybe it makes the table bigger. Nia turned around. Are you two finally going to kiss? Marcus laughed. Elena leaned closer, and their kiss was gentle, hopeful, and long overdue. At the next charity gala, Marcus entered through the same doors in the same repaired suit. This time, Elena and Nia waited beside an empty chair marked Rachel Reed. The security guard smiled. Mr. Reed, your table is ready. Marcus looked at the chair, then at his new family. No, he said softly. Our table is ready. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.